Welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I'm Tony Guerra. I'm excited to kind of talk to you today about what it is to accept a residency position, because I think that we forget the end in mind and kind of get so bogged down and don't see the forest for the trees. That's kind of important to talk to someone about when they accepted their residency. Kind of some of the nuts and bolts of doing that, what you have to look forward to. But when you can get that really, really crisp image of getting the acceptance letter, going to the residency, seeing how the residency really fit into what you've done in your APPEs and what you want to do in the future, I think is just absolutely critical. As I'm talking to students, and I'm going to be presenting at a number of national meetings. I present sometimes to individual pharmacy schools and organizations. I think the one thing that is the Greek tragedy, and I'll probably talk about this all year, is how important the pharmacy school is towards how your plan needs to go. If you are at UNC, you need to be the top 84%. You don't have to be the top 16%. You have to be the top 84% of people applying to residency. That is insane. So I'm just basically saying if there were 100 applicants to residency, only the bottom 16 wouldn't get one. Okay? But the converse is true at the other end, where if you're at a school that's in a not such a great position in terms of residency application success, then you might need to be in the top 10, 15, 20% of those that are applying for residency. So this isn't just your class. This is actually moving on to just that smaller group. So of any given college, if you go across the board, only 25% apply to residency, might be maybe closer to 30. But when you think about that smaller number, you're eliminating 70% of the school. So of that 30, you may need to be in the top 9 or 8, or you may need to just be the top 25 of those 30. It just kind of depends on where you went to school. And I think that one of the first things you want to do, once you've kind of gotten that visual of where you want to go and the goals that you want to have and where you see yourself, who you see yourself serving. And again, I think the letter of intent is the easiest way to articulate, okay, well, let me try to apply somewhere. Where would I apply? What would I write down about myself? How do I match to them? I think it just makes it a really easy exercise to maybe do a 2-pager instead of a 1-pager to really, really go deep into the reflection. But in this episode, we're going to listen to what it's like to accept a residency offer, what it's like to kind of move to a new city, and some of you are still kind of finishing those details off as you move in. But I wanted to make sure to get this out there before you guys all started your next residency year. And then as the new APPE students are coming in, for them to really, really be able to visualize what's at the end of this residency application journey. Again, if you want to talk to me, TonyThePharmacist@gmail.com, or you want to see my courses, residency.teachable.com. Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I have JC Mandernack, a Iowa fourth-year pharmacy student who is graduating in 2 weeks. Well, she's done with my rotation in 2 weeks, graduating in 3. But found out she got a residency about a week and a half ago, and we're just going to go over those things that you want to do in your kind of first week. So if there's any things that you missed, questions about kind of housing and getting that invite, working with HR, just kind of nuts and bolts of it. So JC, welcome.
Hi, thank you everyone. I'm glad to be here. But yeah, getting a residency is a very exciting time.
So tell me a little bit about kind of first steps. So after the beautiful email that says, you have matched. It's kind of like when you're on Facebook and you see a birthday with balloons or something. I didn't know if there's any kind of like balloons or fireworks or anything that happened in the email when you get the residency match. But um, after that letter, what was the first thing that you did?
Yeah, both internal, external balloons. Yeah, the email was frightening to open, like both happy, and I was like, oh no. But yeah, opening it, it was cold actually that morning. I just wanted to go outside and run. And so I went into the basement and just did some laps and then ran up and down the stairs. I didn't know what else to do.
I love
Just
it.
running off some happy energy. But yeah, immediately not much like logistics I could do other than just like have my excitement and do the rest of my rotation. But it was a great, exciting day, first of all. And then I did celebrate with some ice cream and dinner with family and friends. So that was nice to have their support as well.
Is Dane's Dairy still there on
Dane's Dairy,
Route 1?
yes, is in Iowa City. It's a pretty good place.
Yeah, it's amazing. We lived like walking distance from there. We loved it.
That, yeah.
Aber Avenue. Goodness, I can't believe I remember that. Cool. All right. So then you got a residency, and now it's like, okay, now I've got a residency. What do I do? So let's say that maybe what was the first kind of contact, or did you contact them? How do you get the HR nuts and bolts going? Like, how does the process get started? Because you've got an offer for a job, right? You still have to accept that offer formally in some way. And then what are the next steps?
Right. Yeah. The acceptance still had to occur. And of course, I was going to accept, but all the logistics have to roll out too. So I did receive an email from my residency program director. They were congratulating me and then connecting me with my co residents. And that was something I really wanted to ask about too, but they beat me to it and just connected us right away. So we contacted each other. We started a group message already. And it was kind of nice those other people that are with me in the same boat, going to be moving to residency, starting our PGY1. And so we were kind of talking about housing as well and trying to figure that out. But the other documents that the residency program director gave me was the, for one, signing, actually accepting the letter. And so I was reading through that, making sure everything was as I expected. You have to go over the sick leave, the pay, the logistics of the actual job. So signing that, turning it back in. And with it being a VA, there's all the extra paperwork too to go through. And so I was making sure I was filling all that out correctly, turning that back in a timely manner. It was a very quick process. And then making sure I signed everything appropriately. And just signing all that took quite a while to get through. And then also with going back to the housing, I kind of didn't know where I wanted to live or how that was going to happen, but something that needs to occur first is me to find a place with moving different states. I guess not everybody would maybe be in the same boat, but most people probably are going to have to move or finding something. And so kind of talking with the co-residents and then the current residents at the VA I also contacted, which was nice because I have never been to the area, just to touch base with them and seeing if it was a good neighborhood, if the pictures are correct on the website with what they really are in real life, distance from where I'll be traveling, things like that. So I think another important thing is to contact the current residents just to kind of get their advice on the residency itself and how you can prepare best for that, and then moving there as well. And thinking about things you want to do before you move and getting ready for your first day.
Okay. So now you've kind of starting to get those things set up. What are you doing back here at home in terms of getting ready for NABPLEX, MPJE? Do you have like well, let's start with the plan. I know the VA allows you to be licensed in any state, kind of what your thoughts are on where you're going to get your first license. And then kind of thinking forward as to doing the MPJE and all those types of things.
Yeah, so after the excitement comes all this real life stuff that has to before
Yeah.
I can start. And yeah, so then after the paperwork came the thought about licensing and where I should get licensed when and how that was going to happen. So my residency program director, they do want me to be licensed before I begin. And something I was reading too is I know every place has a different kind of mandatory date that you do have to be licensed by. And so just keeping that in mind, ideally everyone wants to pass the first time, but making sure if you don't think you are, you're not prepared, you have plan B that can be set up as well so you don't get kicked out of the residency. And so I've been looking at,
Sorry, I got to stop you there. That's just such a such a harsh thing, it's not a big deal, but make sure you pass,
yeah. And I kind of thought the same thing when I was reading through the paperwork. It basically, I don't know of anybody that hasn't, completed it by the time they needed to, but it is kind of real life. Like, oh, well, if I don't do this, I'm not going to have a PGY1. So yeah, making sure that's all in a line is important. But like you mentioned, for the VA, you can be licensed in in any state, I guess, since it is government. You can be licensed in Texas and practice in California, as long as it's in the VA facility. But one thing I did learn from a classmate was she's also at a VA, and they have the opportunity to do rotations offsite at a non-VA facility. So if she wanted to take advantage of those opportunities, she would have to be licensed in that state.
Okay.
An important kind of thing to know. And so I asked about that at my residency, and everything I'll be doing will be within the resident or the VA system. So
okay. So that wasn't really an issue for you, but it could be an issue for other people that I know the California thing happened a couple of years ago where there was an issue where students couldn't sit for the California exam. Many from the VA just went to Idaho to at least have a license so they could do their staffing and complete their hours and things like that. But in clinics, they would probably have to forego those until they actually got their license. So that's really helpful as well. What about co-residents? How you've had a little communication with them? How does that work? And then do you have any time with the residents from before so you can at least, or connect with them so that you don't have to kind of reinvent the wheel with some things?
Yeah, in terms of the co-residents that I'll have, we have been connected virtually, and I'm hoping we'll have time to kind of get to know each other on a more personal level once we all move there. And that's something I've really been looking forward to, is having those mutual friends that I'll be with and be able to bounce ideas off of and kind of going through the same thing as me. None of us are going to be living together. And I know that's something that people think about, is living together with your co-residents. So that could always be something that can interest people as well. And then the current residents, yeah, I think I'm able to meet them, whether it's the first week. I think it would be the first week, because I know some of them are moving on to their jobs or PGY2s. And yeah, I guess I don't know the timeline quite yet, but I'm excited to see what comes and what I can learn from them too.
Okay. Well, I've asked you a bunch of questions, but is there any one thing that you just kind of wish you knew ahead of time that maybe you discovered as you kind of went through this process that you could give to somebody who's gotten their PGY1 and kind of maybe a best practice or tip?
I think my biggest thing would be finding a place to live. I have never had to find a place to live in a place I've never been. I've been able to physically go there, view it, tour it, see if the atmosphere is someplace I can stay. And I think the biggest thing would be to start early on looking at places to live. Maybe the day after you get your acceptance, just to reach out to the places you want to live, to get virtual tours or contact them. I've experienced not everyone is the most prompt in getting back to me.
Okay.
Or knowing what's available. There's so many things like crime rates in different areas. I found this website. You can type in an address and kind of see what's around, just to get a feel of what that's like or what's near. Do you need a washer and a dryer? Do you need other certain things? So that'd probably be the biggest thing I didn't really anticipate as much of being a big deal. All the paperwork and stuff like that, I kind of had already thought about and knew I'd be able to get that done. But yeah, probably that, and just planning out, making sure everything's going to work out to get your exams in and be ready to start on day one.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember going to Iowa City, and finding a place to live in Iowa City is hard enough. And what we did was we actually got a townhouse intending to sublease the basement room. So we really wanted a nice place, and we knew it'd be expensive. So we ended up subleasing it to a student who was there. So it was kind of nice to have a really nice place, but we had to live with someone else, which, it wasn't something that we necessarily wanted, but as expensive as Iowa City is, if you want to be anywhere near the university, it was just kind of a best of both worlds. So, but I appreciate all the tips, and I think that's definitely going to be really helpful for other people as we go along. So thanks so much, JC.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and good luck to everyone out there.
Again, thanks for listening to the Pharmacy Residency podcast. Really appreciate you guys. And if you have any questions, TonyThePharmacist@gmail.com or residency.teachable.com. I have been doing quite a few presentations, so if your organization wants me to present on residency applications or something like that, I'm happy to do it. Just get in touch with me. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys next week.